Hey fans, welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0, and fans, you're back with me, Mike Spider Slayer. Get ready to do the countdown, episode number 140. That's right, guys. This is the video series where I pick 10 comics that I read for the week and count them down from number 10 all the way to your number 1. And then this week, we'll be discussing my worst pick as well. But before we get to that worst pick, we're going to just start from number 10 and save the worst for last, right? All right, so starting with number 10, and that book goes to XMen Gold, issue number 17. That's right, guys. This book was okay for me because I don't care mainly for the, I guess, the enemy that's in this particular issue. It's about this psychic alien that's been living on Earth, and his species has been ready to come pick him up. And I just feel like in this particular issue, there's not much character growth, and I don't care about the enemy. The one thing that we get in this issue is that Nightcrawler is trapped in his cell, and he automatically wants to transport somewhere else, but he runs a risk at doing that. And by the time you get to the end of that issue, you wind up seeing where he ends up. The cool thing about this book is I love the costumes that they show in here. It's a more nostalgic feel for the characters in here. You know, they're all wearing costumes again instead of different outfits. I thought that was pretty cool. But overall, at the end of the day, this book is kind of just like, it was okay. So if you are reading XMen Gold, I say continue to pick it up and you'll see where the next story arc actually goes. All right, so that was number 10. So let's go on to number 9. And my number 9 pick this week goes to Superman issue number 36. This book shows some promise as we get the conclusion to this whole Apocalypse story arc on who is the actual chosen one. Is it Superman? Is it Lex Luthor? The Furies are battling, you know, Calabec. And we get to see John on these war dogs and everything else. So this is really what this issue is a big fight. That's what goes on in this book. You see a lot of this battling that's going on between the Furies and everybody. And at the end of the day, you wind up seeing Superman. He winds up prevailing, and they appoint him leader of Apocalypse. So now that his responsibilities are not only on Apocalypse, but they are on Earth. And then when he takes a return back to Earth, Lex Luthor is actually super pissed off at him. And no longer is Lex Luthor, I considered an ally of Superman, but an enemy once again, as he totally rips off the shield and he no longer wears it. So, yeah, pretty good issue in my opinion. Not the best either. The artwork is a little quirky, I feel. But it makes for interesting story to tell in the future as we get Lex Luthor being truly bad again. So that was my number 9. I don't know who's not reading Superman right now, but I definitely say go ahead and pick it up. So now let's go on to our number 8. And our number 8 book of the week goes to Batman the White Knight, issue number 3. Now, you're probably wondering, Mike, why was this book, you know, number 8? It's not a bad book. It's really good, actually. I just enjoyed a lot of books this week, so it was hard for me to really choose, I think, from number 8 all the way down to my number 1. Batman the White Knight is a phenomenal read. I really enjoy Sean Murphy's artwork. I love this other Harley Quinn that's in here. It's like the new 52 Harley Quinn versus the old Harley Quinn. And basically, she wants to get the Joker back to the way he was, not to this Jack Napier thing. As we find out in this particular issue, Jack winds up continuing his pursuit against Batman and going through the logistics of proving him guilty against destruction against Gotham, and how the taxpayers are wasting all their money on Batman, which I thought is an interesting twist. The other part that I didn't find so interesting was the whole bad guys being possessed by him and wearing Mad Hatter's, you know, device and everything else. I thought that kind of got old after a while. It looks like they're going to be revisiting that in the future. You wind up seeing the death of Alfred in here, which is kind of touching as well. But overall, this story is really good. I can't wait to see how this progresses even further. We got 8 issues of this story, so I'm really curious to see how long this goes on and if it will actually retain the reader's interest. So definitely, if you have not checked it out, go to the store, pick it up. Definitely suggest it. 1 and 2 were phenomenal. 3, not as strong, but still really good. All right. Moving on now to number 7. And number 7 this week goes to Red Sonja issue number 11. I really enjoy Red Sonja. I never thought I would enjoy a comic so much. It's a really solid book. The artwork is really well done by Carlos Gomez. It's a phenomenal, enjoyable read. It's about Red Sonja has been misplaced in our current timeline, and she had to adapt to Earth. Now she's going against her, arch enemy, and we get to see, I guess, the scientists here trying to open up a portal back to home, to where Red Sonja belongs. But when he does open up this porthole, we wind up seeing the main enemy come back, and they do this grand, huge battle, and she winds up getting sucked in the portal at the end. The only negative about this book is that I feel that the storyline has been probably going on way too long. I would like to see maybe a little bit different adventures with Red Sonja instead of her fighting this Gath character that she's been fighting the entire time since issue 1. It's been going on for 11 months, and it feels like the same story arc. But nevertheless, it is an entertaining read. There's some great action scenes. The artwork is good. The colors are good. And it's for a fun read. I look forward to it each and every week. So that is number 7. I think it lacks a little bit of character growth in there too. We add more characters, but the characters need a little more depth, I feel. All right. This week's number 6 goes to Paper Girls issue number 18. Paper Girls, really great read as we get to see these young girls who are from the 80s. They travel from different timelines. They went to a highly futuristic age. They've been to the past. They've been to slightly in the future. Now they're in Y2K, and we get to see the girls, how they interact, and each of them have different story arcs, basically, of what's going on in here. And one girl, her name is Tiffany, and she meets her husband in the future at Y2K, which is very quite interesting. And there's some crazy-ass robot battle that's actually going on that none of the girls can see except for Tiffany. And they see this actual robot battle that goes on in here as well. And I'm just like, man, why can't no one else see the battle except for her? And I'm just wondering if this girl may be in this futuristic, like this high-tech future. Maybe it's Tiffany. I don't know. But this book is all over the timeline. It's really interesting. The characters have great character development in them, and each arc focuses on one of these girls. And by the time you get to the end of this book, they give you this nice little survey about where you were in the year 2000 and what was going on. And they ask you, like, what's the best movie of the year in 2000? If you were alive in 2000, what did you do on New Year's Eve? You know, all kinds of different questions, and it makes it for a lot of fun. It just adds another dimension to the comic book. The colors are great. Brian K. Vaughan writes this book. If you guys haven't checked it out, go ahead and check it out. And so I definitely suggest go out and buy Paper Girls issue number 18. Great, great story with all these different types of girls. All right. Next book here. We go on to number 5. And number 5 goes to Captain America, issue number 696. Captain America is a fun read. I love it now. It's not so dark and just gritty and just like depressing all the time. You know, you got Mark Waid and Chris Samney on the book, and it brings life to the character. It brings hope, and which Captain America really stands for. In this issue, you wind up finding Steve trying to get away from the main city, and he tries to keep a low profile, but he finds out that going to a low profile city or a lowly populated city is not only the answer to his solutions, because everyone recognizes him, and he can't keep a low profile there. And in the meantime, he has a restaurant owner that keeps him, you know, safe for the meantime, but he comes across the swordsman, and it's a predecessor to the swordsman. And he does battle against the swordsman, and they do this threat with this whole dam that can destroy the whole entire city, and you get to see this cool picture with, you know, Steve Rogers on his motorcycle. Very nice looking book here. It's just an awesome book. Really great battle scenes. And even though nothing has really, I guess, transpired from this book yet, the first issue you wind up getting to see Captain America back. This issue you get to see him do a little battle against a guy. It looks like it's setting up for the future, because at the end we wind up seeing someone being hunted in the shadows once he beats the swordsman and leaves the city to actually go somewhere else. It looks like that someone is actually hunting him down here, if you can see that in the background. So right over here. So yeah, so I'm anxiously awaiting to see what happens with Captain America. If you have not liked Dark Captain America, maybe you'll like the Light Captain America, and you'll like this one a little bit more. So I definitely say pick this up. This is on my pull list permanently now. All right, so now we're going on to number 4. And number 4 goes to Darth Vader, issue number 9. And in this issue, we wind up seeing a whole bunch of shit happen in this book. We wind up seeing Darth Vader versus the Inquisitor in this particular issue, because the Inquisitor wants to kill this Jedi, which is this chick right here, who protects the Jedi archives. And the Inquisitor wants to destroy her so he can get access to it. But Vader stops the Inquisitor from destroying her because he wants access to all this particular information. And by the time we wind up getting to the end of it, the Jedi actually winds up escaping. And it was really cool because Darth Vader is just so dark, and he's just so full of anger. And at the end, he's doing battle against this Jocasta character. And she has this big-ass rifle, and she's, like, shooting it at him. Look at that right there. And she's trying to destroy Darth Vader. And it's just so badass. And it just ends that way. And it leaves her a great, great cliffhanger, because she's like, you're a Sith and you gotta die. And she's like, that's it. You have nothing to do. I want nothing to do with you. But she erases all the archives because she feels there's nothing left. She doesn't want it in the Inquisitor's hands. She doesn't want it in the Sith's hands. So she erases it, and her and Vader go at it with each other. Really cool ending. This is leaps and bounds compared to what's it called? The Darth Vader series beforehand. The artwork's better, the story's better, Darth Vader's portrayed better in this book. Definitely pick it up if you haven't picked it up so far. Alright, so now we're going on to number 3. And number 3 goes to Witchblade, issue number 1. This is like a reboot to the series. We wind up seeing flashbacks of this character. Her name is Alex. I think that's what her name was, if I remember correctly. And we wind up finding out that I think she's like this prosecutor or this lawyer, and she has to save a girl, but she keeps having these flashbacks about her being dead and her being reborn, and she doesn't know what's real and what's the truth. And the artwork in this book is really gorgeous, really good facial expressions, nice colors in the book as well. It's really dark, and you wind up seeing that our main character is, you wind up seeing her reborn. Things don't go accordingly to plan. She actually dies in the issue, and she has this amulet on her. And this amulet gives her these special powers, and the amulet actually talks to her. And it's supposed to protect her against danger and, you know, all kinds of different things. And she's just starting to tap into that power. She's not accepting it, so she's fighting it, so you know, it's on the verge of almost killing her at the same time. But by the time you wind up getting to the end of it, you wind up seeing her actually embrace that power a little bit, and she kills the actual bad guy in this issue. This issue is a book that I couldn't put it higher because I felt that you had to read it multiple times, which not always is necessarily a bad thing, but you like to understand things the first time you read it. But it throws you a twist in there because you don't know if she's actually alive or dead. You're just scratching the surface with this book. I'm sure in the future you're going to find out the ins and outs of our main character. So really, really good book. I can't wait to see what happens in the future with this. Surprised me a lot. I didn't think I would like it. So if you're looking for something new, check out Witchblade, guys. All right, so now we're moving on to our number 2. And our number 2 book of the week goes to issue number 174 of The Walking Dead. This book is focused on Negan. If you've read The Walking Dead series, Negan has actually been casted out of Alexandria, and recently we haven't seen him on what he's been up to. So this issue focused on that. We get to see him living on his own. We get to see him kind of breaking down a little bit. He's not used to being on his own. He has nobody to talk to. He's planting sunflowers. Lucille, his baseball bat broke, so he's talking to the sunflower. And then he comes face to face with Maggie. And Maggie obviously is the one that killed Glenn. And so they have it out with each other, and basically, Negan sits there and talks to Maggie and says, kill me. He's like, I can't live like this anymore. I'm all by myself. I have nothing. And it shows a moment of weakness for Negan. And Maggie would not give him that satisfaction, and she walks away, and Negan is forced to be on his own again. But I think this is a turning point for Negan. I think he's no longer going to be the asshole that we knows. And I think he kind of had this epiphany going through this. So it made it for a very emotional book. Really enjoyed it. This is probably one of the better books since Andrea's death with The Walking Dead. And I can't wait to see what January's issue has to offer. We have this New World Order thing coming on. So looking forward to that. Definitely continue to read The Walking Dead, guys. All right. And my number 1 book of the week goes to Batman issue number 36. That book was really well written. You know, I made a statement in when I did my full review on this book. If Selina Kyle is hurting the Batman series. And in many ways, people had a great discussion about this and said, no, she's not hurting the book whatsoever. If you want to read her without, read Batman without Selina Kyle, there's plenty of other titles out there. And that's true. And this is Tom King's version of Batman, and this is what he wants to write. He wants to write a female in Batman's life and looking at more of the emotional side of Batman instead of him being so dark and gritty all the time and having no emotions. This is a new chapter for Bruce, and I really enjoyed it too. The issue was really great seeing Batman and Superman not want to call each other about this engagement. And at the end of the issue, they wind up being forced to meet because their missions go side and side with each other. And you see Lois and Kat, they work together, they meet each other. And then it's going to make more for a more interesting issue in the next issue when they confront each other. So it's good friends and, coming together, and I can't wait to see what happens. Batman, great title. Definitely go ahead and pick it up, guys. All right. So now we're talking about the worst book of the week, and that has to go to issue number 229 of The Savage Dragon. When did Savage Dragon become that porn magazine? Because that's what this book is. It's like smut, right? I mean, you see Malcolm Dragon, which is his dragon's son, basically screwing his wife every single night. Now, I get it, but there's ways to show it in a comic where you don't have to see it. And some of the things that go on in this book are just unexplanatory. You don't need it in here. I mean, we went from Savage Dragon having been this cool cop that's, fighting crime, fighting the bad guys. He had a wife, doing all these things, to this crazy sex addict stuff with threesomes and other things that are going on in this book. It's not necessary. And until this changes, this will be my worst pick every single time. And I'm going to continue to read Savage Dragon because, yes, I read this book since it started out, since issue number 1. And I have a real problem in the direction that it's going in. But I'm not going to stop collecting it because I've read it since the beginning. And I believe that Eric Larson hopefully does get some complaints about this and maybe turns things around. The best thing that would happen for Malcolm Dragon, which is Dragon's son, is that his wife dies. and he's left with all these kids. Because in this particular issue, they show him having sex again, and she winds up getting pregnant, and they already have 3 kids. So now they're going to have more. So that's why that one's my worst pick. I just can't take all the extreme sex. I understand that we're going to show some things every once in a while, but there's a point to where it is pushed overboard. So there you guys have it. There is the countdown for the week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Now it's your turn in the comments below to tell me what your top 10 comics of the week were, what your worst pick of the week was. And guys, as always, thank you so much for watching Comic Book Corner 2.0. Can't do this channel without your support. And if you're bored every Tuesday night, go check out my group channel, Comic Frontline, where we have our live show that happens each and every week where we talk about the comics top 5, the comics news, and a whole bunch more. So again, guys, until that next comic book review, this is Mike Spider Slayer signing off. I'll see you guys real soon. Bye.